I don't think I will be able to figure that out before Wednesday.
Guys, welcome back to a Coliseum Forum that if I went back in time and told my 12-year-old self this was happening, he would not believe it. I am joined by the super talented Catherine Sutherland and the incredible Nakia Burrise. If you're not familiar, guys, we've talked about this in the past. I'm a ridiculous Power Rangers fan, and I am joined by ZEO Yellow and ZEO Pink. Like, what is this life that I live? This is amazing. Guys, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having
Thank you for having us.
So we're just going to jump in. And I've thought this is one of those opportunities, like you think about, like, you know, if I ever had this opportunity, what would I ask? And I've spent a lot of time this week preparing, and I think I have some really, really good questions for you. And here's my first question. This is the one I'm really excited to ask. So I've heard Jason David Frank talk about this. Walter Jones has mentioned it. Even David Yost has kind of talked about it. And so one of the things that set them apart with the original cast, what kind of landed them their roles, is those guys would go out to dinner and run lines together, and they really bonded and created chemistry for themselves, right? And that's sort of kind of what landed them as the original Mighty Morphin team. So here it is. We're 3 seasons into it, for example, Kat, and then 4 when you came in, Nakia. With that dynamic kind of established between them, what was it like for you guys coming into Power Rangers with like this existing kind of like friend environment, this gang that had been working together for a few years at that point?
You want to go first, Kat?
Oh, sure. Yeah, for me, you know, Nakia and I have a similar situation where we didn't know we were replacing anybody. We just thought we were being added to the cast. So, you know, when I came on the show, I was, you know, an evil character, and it was fun and I was having a good time, but I found out that I was replacing Amy Jo. And, you know, that was a big deal. She's a very popular character. She'd been on the show since the beginning. So it was definitely, I felt a lot of pressure. You know, I didn't want to let anyone down. And in fact, in my contract, it said if the fans didn't accept me, they would be sending me back to Australia. So nothing like a brutal honesty there, but yeah, I definitely felt pressure, but the cast and the crew was so warm and welcoming to me, and you know, you're with each other so many hours a day. I kind of became a part of the family very quickly. So they really embraced me, I think, because I was, you know, from another country, and I was, you know, by myself. I had no family or any friends or anything. They became my family and my friends. So,
yeah, it was kind of similar for me. Just trying to get to know. Well, my first interaction with the cast was with Kat. She was the very first person that I met because my screen test was with her. And
oh wow!
Yeah, so that's the first time that I met her. And I found out years later that, you know, the producers had actually asked her, out of the 3, because there were 3 of us left, which one she felt more comfortable with and which one she liked. And guess who she chose? Her sister.
Kat, good choice. Excellent choice.
Well, there was no choice. It was, we had such great chemistry from the beginning, and she just, you know, the other girls were nice, but she just really stood out.
There is no other Tanya Sloan. There could be no other Tanya Sloan besides Nakia Burrise. Like, that's all there is to that.
Thank you so much. I remember being very nervous going on set because this was my first television series. Yeah. I was actually in college studying to be an actress, and you know, I had other small gigs before that, but this was a series regular, so I wanted to do my very best, and I wanted to get along with everybody. So I remember being, you know, quite nervous trying to get to know everybody, but everybody was very welcoming, very, very welcoming. And like Kat said, I didn't know that I was replacing anybody. I didn't even know that I was going to be the Yellow Ranger. They just told me to wear yellow, but I hadn't gathered that I'd actually be a ranger. I guess they didn't want to let that rabbit out of the hat. So yeah, we all, even to this day, consider ourselves, you know, brothers and sisters. And whenever we get a chance to see each other at a convention, it's just like a family reunion. And then the family,
I mean, it really feels that way. But one of the dynamics I feel was really interesting is like you two specifically, your story arcs were kind of very much intertwined, even on the show. Like you guys, your characters live together, and then now it's, you know, what, 15 years since ZEO, or 20 years since ZEO, and you guys still do Power Rangers Playback together. Like you guys, you know, do the concert. I think that's amazing. It's like, do you think that your friendship kind of grew out of the show, like working together, or like was like I guess the dynamic I'm asking about is, you know, on the show, did they write you guys together so much because you guys had great chemistry, or were you guys just became friends because you were forced to be together all the time?
Well, they definitely made the girls best friends on the show.
Sure.
Because there was only two of us. But they actually, in our season anyway for ZEO, Tanya and Adam were really best friends, more so, I felt, in the beginning of ZEO.
Sure.
And they kind of developed it more. So maybe it was because they saw how close her and I became. Like, we were fast friends, like super fast. I mean, I was even looking back at old, through our we have a behind the scenes photo book, and there's a picture of her and I holding hands, like when we were going in through the ZEO goo, you know, into the new command center. And I remember that in that moment, I don't think I've told you this, Kia, but I remember just feeling like it was such a natural thing to take her hand, and like we were buddies. And so we were always hanging out together on set. And yeah, I mean, we've been a part of each other's life for 26 years. Kids, husbands, tears, joy, all of it. So yeah, it's a really special friendship, but I think it doesn't matter if it was, you know, created on the show or not. We would have found each other somehow, I think. Soul sisters.
I love that answer. That's incredible. All right, so for Nakia, this is something, you know, obviously we'll just work within the continuity of the show, but Aisha decides to stay back in time and take care of sick animals, and you're going to be the new Yellow Ranger. Let me ask you this: while working on the show, what is your favorite memory of being a Power Ranger?
There are a few, but I will start with the very first. Is when I got the phone call that I booked the job. I was just like, because I had waited we had, you know, it was 3 of us at the screen test, then it went down to 2 of us. This was like a 2-month process. And I had been waiting for a couple of weeks to find out if I had gotten the job or not. And so when I got that phone call that I booked the job, I just remember screaming from the top of my lungs and being so excited, calling my parents. We were all screaming. So that is definitely very, very memorable. Another memorable moment is when I got into my dressing room, and I remember sitting there on the couch. I was sitting, there's a big couch and I'm sitting in the corner, and I was just looking around and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm on a television show. I remember just like, this is good. I was 20 when I booked
Sure.
Power Rangers, like
Right.
Power Rangers. And so I started working, like I booked it, and then I had just turned 21 when we started filming. So I remember just sitting in my dressing room, thanking God for this opportunity. And I would say the other memorable time was the first time I stepped into the command center, and that's when they had the rounded one. And I remember standing so nervous because there were probably about 50 people that surrounded all the producers and, you know, all the crew. They all needed to come see who this new Yellow Ranger was. And, you know, that's obviously something that the audience doesn't see. So you have all eyes looking at you. I'm the new one on the block. JDF is cracking jokes. And I'm like, I'm just meeting him. And I'm like, okay, dude. So it was a lot of nervous feelings going on at the time, but also very excited. So those were some of the most memorable moments for me.
So by the time you guys came along, and obviously you hold your place in the Ranger Hall of Fame, you guys are some of the GOATs, right? But by the time you guys came along, Power Rangers was already a huge success internationally, you know, obviously here in North America, you know, very much so. When you found out you booked Power Rangers, and you know, being 20 years old, I remember being 20 years old. If I found out I was going to be a Power Ranger, I would have lost my mind. Like, did you understand like the weight of like what you were about to do going into it?
No, I didn't. I didn't have a clue. I mean, when I went for the audition, it just said on the casting notice, it just said a children's program, series regular and children's program that films in Hollywood. Right. And I was like, oh my gosh, I got to get this one, you know?
Yeah.
And then I didn't know what Power Rangers was or anything. And then it started, once I booked it, it just started airing in Australia. So I remember being at the gym and I was on the bike and I'm watching Power Rangers on the TV and I was like, oh my gosh, that's the show. That's the show I'm going to be on. And I remember thinking David Yost was so handsome with his little glasses and his little, oh, I'm doing a Billy tribute today. Look.
Oh, there you go. Look at that. Yeah.
And so, yeah, so I thought a kids show, you think kids show, not a big deal. Well, when I got here, we started filming everything. I didn't know how big it was until I went to the premiere of the first movie. And I was with Jason, Frank, and his wife at the time, Tammy, and one of the producers, Doug Sloan. And we get out of the limousine and it was like a sea of cameras and flashing, Jason over here, Jason, oh my gosh, and all these little girls screaming like he was a rock star. And I was going, what is happening right now?
Jason David Frank is a little bit of a rock star even now. Like,
yes, he's very popular, but I didn't know that at the time. I just thought he was one of my customers. I didn't have any idea. So after I experienced that premiere, I was like, oh wow, I better pull my socks up here. This is a big deal.
So now let me ask you this, Nakia. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, I didn't know what Power Rangers was either. I was a college student. I know, ridiculous, right? I was a college student and I knew it was a job and I was going to be a series regular. So I really didn't even know what Power Rangers was. And I don't know that I knew, being on the show, I still didn't grasp how big it was. And I would say I really didn't grasp it until maybe I started doing interviews for the Turbo movie.
Yeah.
And then I would say even more so when I started doing conventions many, many years later. When we got off the show, we didn't have MySpace. We didn't have Facebook.
Right.
Yeah.
We didn't have the social media. So I had no idea how big it was. And, occasionally I'd get recognized out on the street, but I still didn't understand the enormity of how big the cult following until I started doing comic conventions.
I can give you a great example of this. We have a mutual friend, Moshi. Moshi is our events and direct marketing coordinator for Coliseum of Comics. And I guess you guys have worked together in the past. And when he came on into Coliseum, he found I was a very big Power Rangers fan, like a huge Power Rangers fan. And him and I get along very well. We work very closely together. And one day I get a video from you telling me what a great job I do and all of my hard work. And it was literally one of the best days of my life. It was super cool. So I'm 37, and I'm still a huge fan. Like, I can't wait to meet you guys on Friday. And I'm just going to plug this really quickly, and we'll plug it again, obviously, at the end of the show. But you guys are actually coming to visit. You will be here on Friday.
Yes, Friday at 4 p.m.
at our Kissimmee store, which is our biggest location. It's one of my favorite stores. Sorry, guys. It's a really good store. Yeah, you guys are coming into Florida here. You're going to be here at 4 p.m. So if there's a question I'm not asking, and what's that?
How many locations do you guys have?
We have 9 locations.
Oh, 9.
Wow.
Yeah, we go all the way from Tampa all the way to Jacksonville.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. We actually just, nobody ever asks questions about what I do. We actually just opened another location here in Jacksonville just last week. We had our grand opening. It's 4,600 square feet. It's massive.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huge. That is huge.
That is pretty big. Actually, but the location you guys will be at Friday at 4 p.m. It's Coliseum Kissimmee, is actually 4,700 square feet. It's actually our biggest Coliseum. So.
Wow.
We're looking forward to it. We're definitely looking forward to it.
No, yeah. I mean, listen, the staff all jokes, like they'll be, so I have two sons, and they are Power Rangers fans. But if any of the staff see like Power Rangers merchandise in my car, they're like, the conventional wisdom is that this would be for your kids, but we all know it's yours. And I'm like, yeah, it's mine.
You're not alone. Don't worry. we have people come up to our table all the time and we're like, hi, sweetie, do you watch Power Rangers? And they go, no. And it's the dad's like, no, it's for me.
Well, luckily, I'm very lucky. My boys have kind of taken to the nerd stuff very well. And they love Power Rangers. So that actually kind of leads me into my next question is like, first of all, what's it like to see yourself as an action figure, to see yourself on t-shirts, to see yourself on merchandise and things like that? I mean, do you guys own any of your action figures? Is that weird for you?
Yeah, go ahead, Kia.
I think it's a blessing. I don't think it really sinks in. You just asked that question. I really thought about it. I was like, I don't sit there and I'm like, wow, I have an action figure. Wow, I also have a Barbie doll. I have a Barbie doll character I play too.
Right.
So I'm like, I'm a action superhero and I'm a Barbie doll. But it doesn't hit me until somebody brings it up and I'm like, oh my gosh, what a blessing. What a blessing to say you have an action figure and you have a Barbie doll. No, we don't own them. Actually, we have to purchase them ourselves.
Right.
But it's an incredible feeling to know that you are actually a superhero.
Yeah.
Once you were always a superhero, and to be able to say that you were a superhero. I remember when my kids were young, because I have 2 boys, they're now 18 and 20. My youngest son was like, Mom, you're not a superhero. That's how he used to talk. You're not a superhero. And I was like, what? Yes, I am. It was so funny. He knows I am. But it was funny because he was really into Marvel, Spider-Man. So Spider-Man was a superhero and all of those. But yeah, it's a great feeling.
So cute. I think at the time, when we were on the show, our action figures were hideous. So we were complaining about how hideous they were. We're like, that doesn't even look like me. It was like, yeah.
No, I was the dumb kid buying those action figures. I will say this though, the new line of Power Rangers action figures, the Hasbro The Lightning Collection, and they just released you very recently, and everybody's mad because they haven't released Nakia yet. I'm mad. Listen, I have my cat action figure ready to get signed. I don't have my Nakia action figure ready to get signed because Hasbro's just sleeping on the job over there.
Yeah, it's coming.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Kia. I said we keep hearing it's coming, and then they announced Aisha. So
Aisha versus Scorpiona or whatever. Yep.
Yeah. So it's better be good. When it comes, we're going to be like, oh, it was worth the wait.
I hope so.
The crazy part is though, you were Yellow Turbo, you were Yellow ZEO. They've started releasing both teams. Like, where's the Nakia action figure, Hasbro? What are you doing? What are you guys doing?
Yeah, Hasbro, give me a break.
Haters.
So let me ask you this: so you guys book Power Rangers. It kind of sinks in like, wow, okay, this is kind of a big deal. And then they're like, hey, we're going to transition the season, but we're going to do a whole movie about it. What was that like?
Well, it was really exciting, but our budget was about a quarter of what they had for the first movie.
The first one, yeah.
So it really was more like the series, but on a bigger scale.
Okay.
And they told us that the reason was because fans complained that the movie was so different from the series with the first movie. Sure. But I don't think that was why. I think they were
okay. So I may be true, and I want to hear what Nakia has to say about this as well. But from the kid's standpoint, because I was that kid, I honestly was kind of disappointed with the first movie because you go to see it and you're expecting, Our Money More from Power Rangers, and they had really glammed it up. They had armor on. It didn't feel like the show. I mean, it was still our characters, right? It was still, but honestly, if I'm totally cards on the table, Turbo's the better movie. It just ties into the show so much better than the original movie.
That's interesting. Yeah, people liked it, but it just to us it just didn't feel like it didn't feel that different, did it, Kia? It was on a bigger, longer. It just took longer to film things.
It was my very first motion picture, so I was very excited about doing a motion picture. Yeah, Power Rangers was my first series. Turbo was my first movie, so I was like, oh my gosh, my face is gonna be big on the screen. So I was very excited about that. But once we got into it and we started filming, our original director, David Winning, I thought he was doing a great job, but obviously the producer didn't think so. And so they fired him. And when he left, all of these really wonderful scenes that we had filmed left along with them. We had some really, really great fights that our second unit director, Koichi, we looked badass in these fights. We had worked for weeks on these and they were all gone. We had some really intimate moments where you got a chance to see our characters on on a more intimate basis, and
Sure.
there was this campfire scene where we were sitting there talking about our feelings. That was cut. There was so much cut. So when we saw the final movie, we were like, okay, this isn't what we originally read. I was still very happy to be a part of it, but it did feel like an extended version of the television show with longer hours.
Right.
Looking back, I was grateful for the opportunity. It wouldn't have gotten us to where we are now with Power Rangers Playback and with our podcast, the conventions, and getting to, come to your guys' store on Friday at 4 p.m. in Kissimmee.
Good plug, good plug.
Yeah. Like we wouldn't have these opportunities if we weren't on Power Rangers. So, there's a lot of great things that came from Power Rangers, from the movie, from all of that. But it could have been a better movie if the fans knew what was really missing from it.
See, here's what I'm going to say. This is my takeaway, is that they need to release the winning cut. The way they had the big fan for the Justice League and the Snyder cut, we need the Turbo winning cut, is what it sounds like.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I would like to see that, because there were some really, really great. I mean, those fights, oh my gosh, Billy, you would have been knocked off your chair. I'm not kidding. They were amazing. They were really, really amazing.
This is a true story. I think I was like 12 or 13 when the Turbo movie came out. And I have a younger brother, and him and I got into probably one of our biggest arguments of our entire life. Because I was like, at this point, I'm too cool for Power Rangers, and he wants to go see it. And we argued like all day, and then finally he convinced me to go. And the whole time I'm like, all right, yeah, this is cool. I'm glad I came. Okay, you win. Cool. Listen, I don't want to keep you guys too much longer. I know you guys are very busy. I know you guys. There's a new Power Rangers Playback video dropping today as well, right?
Yes, it's already played. Yes, it was at 4:00, but people can go back and watch it. We just had a little skit with some new characters that Kia and I came up with.
Okay. So let me ask you about this. So, obviously you guys you're active on the convention circuit, like, a lot of the other Rangers. What brought you guys together for Power Rangers Playback?
Would you like to tell the story, Kat?
Sure. We were in Scotland at a convention, and we were sitting next to two very well-known voiceover actors, Troy Baker and Nolan North. I'm sure you know them. They've done tons of stuff. And they had a very, 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 very long line of people going to see them. But people were wearing these shirts that said Retro Replay on them. And we found out they had a YouTube channel, and they were best friends. And so they would play their games that they had voiced, and then talk about it with fans and stuff. So we were sitting there and we're going, we could do a YouTube channel. We could totally do that. And so we were throwing around ideas and what we thought we'd like. And then we just kind of both came to this revelation that we should do something where we're watching episodes and commenting on the show, because people always ask us, in episode 521, when you fell off the cliff, what did you feel? Or, how did it feel to morph? Or like all these things, And so we started off with that. And then we got copyright claims because we were showing footage. And so we had to kind of reevaluate and figure out how we were going to make that work. And Nakia is a huge night out, and I'm an early bird. So at night, I would wake up in the morning during COVID, and there would be like a slew of all of her brain activity coming at me. And she would have all these like creative ideas of like, we could do this, we could do that, we could do this, we could do that. And so we came up with more content to avoid doing the copyright claims. So we came up with Who Knows It Best and Favorite Things and live interviews and all kinds of stuff, just so that we had other things to offer our audience. And the channel grew very quickly. We have over 100 members. We have over 15,000 subscribers now. And yeah, it turned out to be a real blessing for us during COVID, because we had a lot of time to
Sure.
be able to grow the channel and to be creative. It's definitely harder now that we're traveling. We're like scrambling a little bit more to get content out, but it's been such a fun thing to share together, and it seems to be very well received. So I'm very happy.
Oh no, full disclosure, I watch Power Rangers Playback. Hands up, super chat. That's my jam right there.
Yeah, raise them up high. Raise Billy up high, Kia.
Right.
Raise them up high.
That's right. I have one more question. This one's for you, Kat. So obviously your first appearance, you're evil, trifling, trying to slide in on Kimberly's man. And then, obviously in those early episodes, you transform into like an actual cat. Like, it is not like a metaphor. You literally transfer into a cat monster. Was that you in the costume or a stunt person?
In the cat costume?
Yeah.
That was a stunt person. I just did the voiceover for that.
Okay. And then this one's for Nakia. What costume was more comfortable? Yellow ZEO or yellow Turbo?
They were very much the same. Tight.
Okay.
And
Tight.
hot weather, sweaty. But, we didn't wear them a lot. So so they weren't bad. Our stunt guys are the ones that wore them more. You only saw us when we had the helmet off.
Right.
Or standing inside of the command center. I remember a couple of times we filmed in the desert and we had to wear it. And I remember so clearly, it was at Vasquez Rocks and it was like 110 degrees. And we were like just drenched. And I was looking over here at the poor stunt guys who do this all the time in 110-degree weather, and they're wearing helmets.
Right.
And I'm like, try to sit here and complain when these guys probably suffocate in these helmets. But I just remember being miserable. So I could only imagine what they were going through. But I would say they kind of fit the same. It was in my 20s. It was in my prime. I felt good about
You're
myself.
still in your prime.
Oh, that's very sweet.
Age has aged like fine.
Exactly. Yeah, agreed. It's just a refined version at this point.
So yeah, I mean they were the same. I really liked the design of the ZEO, the Egyptian intricate look. I loved the turbo helmets with the lights. I thought that was really cool. Yeah.
All right, so I want to let you guys get back to being the superheroes that you guys are. We will see you here in Kissimmee in just 2 days at 4 p.m. at our Coliseum Kissimmee store. I cannot wait to meet you guys. You're incredible. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this, guys.
Thank you. So excited. We can't wait to meet you all. Yes,
and please check out Power Rangers Playback YouTube channel. We'd love to have you. We have team membership. We have we meet with our members every month. We chat it up. They get some inside scoops. They get perks. They get discounts on our website. It's a lot happening there. So thank you. We look forward to meeting you, Billy.
Power Rangers Playback, guys. Catherine Sutherland, Nakia Burrise, guys, you're phenomenal. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.